The great hall was silent. Commander Thelvar walked forward with slow steps. In his large hands he held a sword. The blade was clean and sharp. It caught the light from above and seemed to glow. Captain Jiwoo stood waiting. She did not move. Her face showed nothing. Behind her, 5 human soldiers stood like statues. Their hands were far from their weapons. Everyone in the room could feel the tension in the air. The aliens in the council knew what had happened 3 weeks ago. They had all seen the video. 1 human soldier against 30 Draxian warriors. The fight lasted only 4 minutes. Thelvar stopped in front of Jiwoo. He held out the sword. His voice was loud and clear. "We return this weapon to you. Your soldier fought well before he died. We respect his courage." Jiwoo looked at the sword. Then she looked at Thelvar. Her dark eyes did not blink. "That sword does not belong to me," she said quietly. Thelvar's face showed confusion. "We found it on the battlefield. Your soldier carried it when he fought us." "The sword belonged to Sergeant Minho," Jiwoo said. "His great-grandfather carried it in Earth's last great war. His family made it 200 years ago." The commander seemed less sure now. "Then we give it to his family through you." "Minho has no family," Jiwoo said. Her voice was still soft, but there was something hard in it. "We are his family, all of us in the Human Defense Corps." Thelvar had fought in many wars. He had faced terrible enemies and won many battles. But something about this small human made his warrior instincts scream danger. Still, he had to finish the ceremony. He stepped closer. The sword was now within Jiwoo's reach. "Then take it for your people," he said. Jiwoo's eyes moved to the blade, then back to his face. "You do not understand. That sword already has an owner." What happened next made everyone in the hall gasp. Jiwoo raised her hand and grabbed the sword blade itself, not the handle. The sharp edge. Blood came immediately. It dripped from her closed fist onto the floor. "Minho's blade has tasted his blood and enemy blood," Jiwoo said. Her voice was still calm even as blood pooled at her feet. "Now it has tasted the blood of his captain. It belongs to him. It will be buried with him, and you will never touch it again." She pulled the sword from Thelvar's hands with great force. The commander stumbled forward. Jiwoo twisted her wrist. Now the handle pointed at the alien warrior. The blade dripped her blood across his armor. "Never again," she repeated. Thelvar reached for the handle. He wanted to take back control of the situation. The moment his fingers touched the grip, he screamed. The hall exploded into chaos. Thelvar's guards pulled out their weapons. The human soldiers behind Jiwoo did not move at all. But everyone could feel the change in the air. It was like standing on the edge of a cliff. Thelvar held his hand close to his chest. He stared at it in shock. The skin was burned and black where he had touched the sword. The weapon fell to the floor. Now everyone could see that the handle glowed red with heat like metal fresh from a fire. "What is this?" Thelvar gasped. He backed away from the sword. Jiwoo bent down and picked up the blade with her bare hand. The heat did not seem to hurt her at all. She held it up to the light. Everyone could see the blood on it. Hers and now Thelvar's from his burned hand. "This is a human weapon," she said. "Made in fire. Made strong by blood. Carried by warriors who know how to die standing up." She looked at Thelvar with something like pity in her eyes. "You cannot return it, Commander. You were never worthy to hold it." The Draxian commander's shame turned to anger. His hand moved toward his gun. But before he could draw it, 12 more human soldiers appeared from the shadows around the room. They had been there all along, waiting. Each one held a weapon that hummed with power. "I would think carefully about your next move," said a new voice. Colonel Hyun stepped into the light. His face was weathered and hard. Behind him, the 12 soldiers stood ready with their strange weapons. "The contested zone was supposed to be neutral," Hyun said. He walked slowly toward the center of the hall. "Your forces attacked Sergeant Minho while he was doing his job. You started the fight that killed him. He was in our territory," Thelvar said. "He was invited." Hyun's voice cut through the hall like a knife. "By the Keltheran Mining Company. They hired him to protect their workers from raiders. Raiders that your empire has been helping in exchange for money." One of the crystal-like aliens stood up quickly. "This is true," the Keltheran said. "We hired human guards after we lost 16 workers to attacks. The attack stopped the day Minho arrived." Thelvar's face went pale. "You have no proof." "We have Minho's recorder," Jiwoo said. She held up a small device with her bloody hand. "All human soldiers wear them. The video shows your troops surrounding him. It shows them telling him to leave his post. It shows him saying no. And it shows what happened when your soldiers thought one human would be easy to kill. She threw the recorder to the center of the room. It projected a huge hologram that everyone could see. The council members watched in complete silence as the battle played out before them. At first, the video showed Sergeant Minho at his guard post. He was young and smiling. Then 30 Draxian shock troops surrounded him. They pointed weapons at him. They demanded he leave. He refused. One of them fired the first shot. Then the real battle began. The Draxian Empire was famous for its shock troops. They were 8 feet tall with armored suits and powerful weapons. They used drugs that made them feel no pain. They were supposed to be unstoppable. Minho killed 18 of them in 90 seconds. The hologram showed him moving like water, like wind, like death itself. The old sword in his hands moved so fast it blurred. He cut through armor that was supposed to stop plasma weapons. He used everything around him as a weapon. When they shot off his left arm at the elbow, he kept fighting. When a blade went through his lung, he used that moment to kill 2 enemies at once. When they finally brought him down with a neural weapon, 9 more of their soldiers lay dead around him. The hologram froze on Minho's face at the moment of his death. He was smiling. The hall stayed silent for a long time after the video ended. Even the species who did not understand combat seemed shaken. One human, Colonel Hyun said softly, killed 27 of your best warriors. The 3 who survived are still getting treatment for trauma. They wake up screaming. They see his face in their nightmares. Thelvar said nothing. He still held his burned hand. You came here to return his sword, Hyun continued. But what you really wanted was to embarrass us. To show the council that you killed a human warrior and took his weapon. You wanted to prove that humans can be beaten. And we can be beaten, Jiwoo said. She wiped Minho's sword clean with cloth from her uniform. Minho died. We are not gods, we bleed. We fall. She put the blade at her side. But we make you pay for every drop of blood, Commander. We make you remember us. Hyun gestured to his soldiers. They lowered their weapons but stayed visible. This council will now vote on punishment for the Draxian Empire. You broke the treaty. You worked with raiders. You killed a human soldier who was working under legal contract. Over the next hour, 3 more species came forward. They told similar stories. Human soldiers had protected them and died for them against Draxian attacks. The evidence was overwhelming. The vote was quick. The Draxian Empire would face sanctions. They could not trade with council members anymore. Their military ships were banned from council space. Thelvar's shame was complete. As the Draxian group prepared to leave, Thelvar turned back to Jiwoo. You have made an enemy of the Empire. Human. Jiwoo looked at him without fear. No, Commander. Minho made an enemy of your empire when he refused to abandon innocent people. He made an enemy when he chose to stand and fight. He made an enemy when he showed your warriors what one human could do. She touched the sword at her side. We are just here to finish what he started. One day, Thelvar said with hate in his voice, your people will stand alone, without the council's protection. And on that day, Hyun interrupted, you will remember why your warriors needed therapy after facing one human, and you will think very carefully about whether you want to face 1 million of us. The Draxian group left without another word. When everyone else had gone, Jiwoo stood alone in the great hall. Her hand was still on Minho's sword. Colonel Hyun walked up and put his hand on her shoulder. You did well, Captain. Minho would be proud. I should have been there with him, Jiwoo said. Her voice broke. If you had been there, you would both be dead. Hyun said. Minho was alone because we did not have enough soldiers. You were protecting another area. You did your duty. He died doing his. Yes, and now we do ours. Hyun squeezed her shoulder. We make sure his death means something. We make sure the galaxy remembers. Jiwoo wiped her eyes. She stood straight again. When do we leave? Tomorrow. We take Minho home. Full military honors. Hyun paused. Then we return to work. The Draxians have 17 mining operations in contested space. All of them are hiding raiders. We shut them all down. Every single one. Hyun's face became hard. They wanted to make an example of Minho. Instead, they made him a hero. Now every human soldier knows his name and his story. They will come for us, Jiwoo said quietly. The Draxians, they cannot let this stand. The military hospital was white and sterile. Too clean, too quiet. Dr. Kayla walked down the hallway with slow steps. She had been a psychiatrist for 20 years. She had treated soldiers from a dozen different wars, but she had never seen anything like this. Behind the door marked Ward 7, 3 Draxian soldiers sat in separate rooms. They had been sitting there for 3 weeks. They barely ate. They barely slept. When they did sleep, the screaming started. Kayla checked her tablet. The report was simple but disturbing. 3 Draxian shock troops, all veterans of multiple campaigns, all decorated warriors, all completely broken by 4 minutes of combat with a single human. She entered the first room. The soldier's name was Vectar. He sat on his bed staring at the wall. His hands shook even though the room was warm. "Hello, Vectar," Kayla said gently. "I am Dr. Kayla. I am here to help you." Vectar did not look at her. His voice was a whisper. "You cannot help. No one can help. He is still there." "Who is still there?" "The human, Minho. He is always there." Vectar's hands shook harder. "In the corners. In the shadows. When I close my eyes." Kayla sat down in the chair across from him. "Tell me what happened. Start from the beginning." Vectar was silent for a long time. Then he began to speak. "We received orders to secure the mining platform. Command said a human soldier was there, just one. They said it would be simple, easy. We were 30 shock troops. The best the Empire has." He stopped. His breathing became faster. "Go on," Kayla said softly. "We surrounded him. He stood at his post near the main entrance. He was small. So small compared to us. We told him to leave. We told him this was our territory now. He said no. What did he look like? Young, dark hair, dark eyes. He smiled at us. Smiled." Vectar's voice rose. "We thought he was stupid. We thought he did not understand the danger. Commander Thelvar ordered us to fire a warning shot. To scare him. Did it scare him? No." Vectar stood up suddenly. He paced back and forth. He just kept smiling. Then he said something in his language. We did not understand the words. But later, the translator told us, he said, "My grandmother sang me this song when I was small. I will sing it now for her." Kayla made notes on her tablet. Then what happened? One of our soldiers got impatient. He fired at the human. Not a warning shot. A real shot meant to kill. Vectar stopped pacing. The human moved so fast, faster than anything I have ever seen. The shot missed, and then he was moving toward us. With his sword? Yes, that old blade. It should have been useless against our armor. But it cut through us like we were paper. The first soldier died in 2 seconds. The blade went through his chest plate and out his back. The human pulled it free and was already moving to the next one. Vectar sat down again. His whole body was shaking now. We fired everything we had at him. Plasma bolts, kinetic rounds, energy blasts. Most missed because he moved so fast. The ones that hit him, he just kept coming. We blew off his arm and he kept fighting. We put a blade through his lung and he used it to kill 2 of us. "You are safe now," Kayla said. "He is dead." "That makes it worse." Vectar shouted. "Do you not understand? He was dying the whole time. Every second of that fight he was dying. But he would not stop. He would not fall. And he was singing that song, that sad, beautiful song in a language I do not know. He put his head in his hands. 18 of us died in the first 90 seconds. 18. We had better armor, better weapons, better training. We outnumbered him 30-1. And he carved through us like we were nothing." Kayla let him sit in silence for a moment. Then she asked, "How did you survive?" "I ran." Vectar looked up at her. His eyes were filled with shame and terror. "After I saw what he did to the others, I ran. So did Zekrim and Thulvan. We left our brothers to die and we ran like cowards. That is a survival instinct. There is no shame in—" "Yes, there is." Vectar stood up again. "We are Draxian shock troops. We do not run. We do not fear. But we ran from him. Because he was not a soldier. He was death itself wearing human skin." Kayla stood and placed a gentle hand on his arm. "You witnessed something traumatic. Your mind is trying to process it. You do not believe me." Vectar pulled his arm away. "You think I am exaggerating. You think my fear has made me imagine things. I did not say that. You did not have to." Vectar walked to the window. He stared out at the sky. "Go talk to the others. They will tell you the same thing. We all see him. In our sleep. In our waking hours. That smile, that song, that sword covered in our blood. Kayla left the first room and went to the second. Zekrim was different from Vektar. Where Vektar shook with fear, Zekrim sat perfectly still. Too still. Like a statue, Zekrim, Kayla said as she entered. I am Dr. Kayla. Zekrim's eyes moved to look at her, but nothing else moved. You are here to fix me. I am here to help you process what happened. Nothing happened. Zekrim's voice was flat, empty. We went to secure a mining platform. There was a human there. We told him to leave. He refused. We engaged in combat. He won. That is all. Kayla sat down. But it affected you deeply. You have not left this room in 3 weeks. I have no reason to leave this room. Your family wants to see you. Your commanding officers want you to return to duty. I cannot return to duty. For the first time, emotion crept into Zekrim's voice. I cannot go back to being a soldier, because soldiers fight enemies. But that human was not an enemy. He was something else. What was he? Zekrim finally moved. He turned his head to look directly at Kayla. He was a lesson. A warning. A message to the galaxy. He paused. Humans are not like us. They do not fight to win. They fight to make you regret starting the fight in the first place. Tell me about the battle. There is nothing to tell that Vektar has not already told you. I watched Minho cut through our unit like a scythe through wheat. I watched him fight with an arm missing. I watched him sing while blood poured from his wounds. And then I ran. Why did you run? Because I finally understood. Zekrim looked back at the wall. The human was going to die. That was certain. We had too many numbers, too much firepower. He could not win. But he did not need to win. He just needed to kill enough of us that the survivors would carry his story back home. Kayla felt a chill run down her spine. You think he planned it that way? I think every human soldier plans it that way. They know they might die, so they make sure their death costs you dearly. Minho killed 27 of us. 3 of us survived to tell the tale, to spread the fear, to warn others. Zekrim's voice dropped to a whisper. And it is working. I wake up every day thinking about him, wondering how many more humans are out there like him. Hundreds, thousands, millions. You are afraid of humanity now? Yes. Zekrim said it simply, without shame. Before we thought humans were just another species, weak, soft, easy to conquer. Now we know the truth. They are more dangerous than any species in the galaxy, because they do not fear death. They weaponize it. Kayla made more notes. Have you thought about going home? Being with your family? My family would not want me anymore. I am a coward who ran from battle. You survived. Survival is not victory, not for a Draxian warrior. Zekrim turned to face her fully. Do you know what the worst part is, Doctor? What? I agree with them. I am a coward. I should have stayed and fought. I should have died with honor alongside my brothers. Instead, I ran, and now I sit here every day, living with the knowledge that I abandoned them, that I chose my life over theirs. You chose to live. There is nothing wrong with that. Tell that to their families. Tell that to the Empire. Zekrim lay back on his bed. Now please leave. I am tired. The third room was the worst. Tulvan did not sit quietly like Zekrim. He did not pace like Vektar. Instead, he was strapped to his bed. For his own safety, the nurses said, because twice he had tried to harm himself. Tulvan, Kayla said carefully. I am Dr. Kayla. Tulvan's eyes were wild, unfocused. Can you hear it? He asked. Hear what? The singing. He is still singing. That song, over and over. In my head, I cannot make it stop. Kayla checked his medical chart. They had him on sedatives and anti-anxiety medication. Nothing seemed to help. Tell me about the song. It was beautiful. Tears ran down Tulvan's face. So beautiful and so sad. He sang it while he killed us. He sang it while we killed him. Even at the end, when we hit him with the neural disruptor and he fell, his lips were still moving, still singing. What do you think the song meant? I asked a human linguist to translate it for me. She said it is an old folk song from Earth, from Korea, about longing and sorrow, about missing someone you love, about the pain of being separated from home. Tulvan closed his eyes. He was singing about home while he died far away from it. For people he did not even know. For a mining company that paid his government to protect them. Does knowing that help you? No, it makes it worse, because it means he chose to die there. He could have run. We would have let him go. But he stayed. He stayed and fought and died for strangers. What kind of species does that? What kind of soldier is so loyal, so dedicated, so insane, that they choose to die rather than abandon their post? Thulvan opened his eyes. Humans, that is who. And now there are billions of them out there, all of them willing to do what Minho did. All of them willing to die, all of them carrying weapons and singing sad songs. Kayla had no answer for him. General Kavrex stood in the war room deep inside the Draxian Imperial Palace. Around him, holographic displays showed maps of 20 star systems, each one marked with red indicators where human forces operated. How many? Kavrex asked. His intelligence officer, Colonel Nethral, pulled up more data. The Human Defense Corps has approximately 2,000 soldiers spread across Council space. They are hired as security contractors by smaller species who cannot defend themselves. 2,000. Kavrex laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. And they think they can threaten the Empire? General, Nethral said carefully, you should review the combat data. Human soldiers have an efficiency rating that is unprecedented. On average, each one is worth... I do not care about their efficiency. Kavrex slammed his fist on the table. I care about revenge. They embarrassed us in front of the entire council. They made us look weak. That human female grabbed a sword blade with her bare hand and made it burn me. Nethral remained silent. There was no arguing with the general when he was in this mood. Where are the largest concentrations of human forces? Kavrex asked. The hologram shifted. 3 systems lit up in bright red. The Keltheran mining system where Minho died. The Velthari agricultural worlds. And the Zarin trade stations. Good. Kavrex smiled. We hit all 3 at once. Overwhelming force, no mercy. We show the galaxy what happens when you side with humans over the Empire. Sir, the Council sanctions specifically forbid. I do not care about Council sanctions. Kavrex turned to face his officer. The Council is weak, afraid. They would rather talk than act. But the Empire was built on strength, not words. We will show them strength. What about the human response? They will retaliate. Let them try. Kavrex pulled up more displays. We have 300 warships ready for deployment. They have perhaps 20. We have millions of troops. They have thousands. The mathematics are clear, Colonel. We outnumber them in every category. Nethral looked at the display showing Sergeant Minho's final battle, the video that had been playing on repeat across every news network in the galaxy. With respect, General, 1 human killed 27 of our shock troops. What if Minho was lucky? Our soldiers were caught off guard. It will not happen again. Kavrex waved his hand dismissively. We have learned from that mistake. We will not underestimate them a second time. When do we strike? Within the week. I want simultaneous attacks on all 3 systems. Fast, brutal, and complete. Destroy the human forces. Destroy any installations they protect. Send a clear message. The Empire does not forgive. The Empire does not forget, Nethral saluted. Yes, General. After the officer left, Kavrex stood alone in the war room. He looked at his hand, the one that had been burned by Minho's sword. The doctors had healed the physical damage, but he could still feel it sometimes. A phantom pain that reminded him of his humiliation. You were impressive, Sergeant Minho, Kavrex said to the empty room. But you were just one soldier. One lucky warrior who had a good day. Your people will learn that individual courage means nothing against superior numbers and technology. He pulled up the image of Captain Jiwoo from the council chamber, that small human with her bloody hand and cold eyes. I will find you, he promised. And I will make you watch as we destroy everything your friend died to protect. The next 6 days passed quickly. The Draxian fleet assembled in secret, 3 battle groups each with 100 warships. Thousands of troops loaded into transport vessels, weapons checked and readied. All communications encrypted to avoid detection. On the 7th day they struck. The Keltheran mining system was the first target. 50 Draxian warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and immediately opened fire on the orbital platforms. The Keltheran had no military to speak of. Their defense relied entirely on a small security force and 6 human soldiers. The humans responded within 30 seconds. Captain Hana commanded the human security team. When the Draxian ships appeared, she was in the command center with 2 of her squad members, Doyen and Bora. All hands to combat stations, Hana said calmly. She pulled up tactical displays. 50 enemy ships. Way too many. Doyen, get our transport ready for evacuation. Bora, activate all defense systems. Captain, the Keltharan station manager said, his crystalline form vibrating with panic. We must surrender. They will kill us all. Maybe, Hana said. She typed commands into the system. Or maybe we make them regret coming here. Get all civilians to the evacuation pods, move. The Keltheran workers rushed to follow her orders. They had seen what humans could do. They trusted Hana. The Draxian fleet opened communications. General Cavrex's face appeared on the screen. This is General Cavrex of the Draxian Imperial Navy. This system is now under Empire control. All human military personnel will surrender immediately, or we will destroy the station. Hana looked at the screen. She looked at the 50 warships surrounding her tiny station. Then she laughed. Something amusing, human? Cavrex asked. You brought 50 ships to kill 6 humans, Hana said. Either you respect us a lot more than you admit, or you are really, really scared of us. Cavrex's face darkened. You have 1 minute to surrender. Here is my answer. Hana cut the communications. She turned to her team. Minho held for 4 minutes. Let us see if we can beat his record. Doyen grinned. Racing the dead. I like it. Bora checked her weapons. For Minho. For Minho, Hana agreed. The battle began 30 seconds later. The Draxian ships expected the station's defenses to crumble immediately. Instead, they found themselves facing weaponry they did not know existed. The humans had spent 3 weeks preparing for this. They knew the Draxians would come for revenge. And they were ready. Hidden weapons platforms activated around the station. Each one carried missiles with human-designed warheads. Not the biggest missiles, not the most powerful, but accurate. Terrifyingly accurate. The first volley took out 6 Draxian ships before they could react. Direct hits to their engine cores. The ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. What? Cavrex stared at his tactical display in shock. How did they— Sir, the station has military-grade weapons. Our intel said they only had basic defense systems. Obviously our intel was wrong, Cavrex shouted. All ships return fire. Destroy that station! 50 ships opened fire at once. But the station was small and mobile. Hana piloted it with skill that matched any trained combat pilot. She dodged between asteroids and debris, using the mining field as cover. The Draxian shots mostly missed. The ones that hit were absorbed by shields that should not have been that strong. The humans upgraded everything, Nethral said from beside Cavrex. They knew we were coming. Then we adapt. Cavrex pointed at the screen. Send in the boarding teams. Storm the station directly. Kill everyone inside. Transport ships broke off from the main fleet and headed for the station. Each one carried 50 Draxian soldiers. 300 troops total rushing toward 6 humans. Hana watched them coming. Here they come. Time to show them what Minho taught us. She activated the station's internal defense grid. When the Draxian soldiers breached the hull and poured inside, they found themselves in a nightmare. The humans had turned the station into a death trap. Every corridor had kill zones. Every room had ambush points, and the 6 human soldiers moved through the chaos like ghosts, appearing just long enough to kill, then vanishing before return fire could find them. 30 Draxian soldiers died in the first 5 minutes. Cavrex watched the helmet camera feeds in growing fury. His troops were being slaughtered by an enemy they could barely see. The humans used every advantage: superior knowledge of the terrain, better coordination, and that same unnatural fearlessness that Minho had shown. When Sergeant Doyun lost his left leg to an explosion, he crawled into cover and kept shooting. When Private Bora took 3 bullets to her chest, she used her last grenade to take 5 enemies with her when she died. The battle lasted 14 minutes. When it was over, all 6 humans were dead, but they had taken 173 Draxians with them. Cavrex stared at the casualty reports in disbelief. 173? 6 humans killed 173 of our troops? Yes, sir. Netheral's voice was quiet. What about the other attacks? Reports coming in now from the Velthari system and the Zarin stations. Netheral pulled up the data. His face went pale. Sir, what? The Velthari system. 8 humans defended 3 agricultural platforms. We lost 4 warships and 230 soldiers. All 8 humans died. And Zarin? Worse, 12 humans. 6 warships destroyed. Over 300 casualties. Netheral looked at his general. Sir, we won all 3 battles. We achieved our objectives, but the cost? Cavrex did the math in his head. 26 human soldiers. Total casualties across all 3 battles. Over 700. Draxian troops and 17 warships. Each human had killed an average of 27 enemies before dying. The same number Minho had killed. It was not luck, Kavrik said softly. Minho was not lucky. He was normal. They are all like that. Yes, sir. What have we done? Kavrik sank into his chair. We just declared war on a species where every single soldier is worth 30 of ours. Sir, we still have superior numbers. Can we? Kavrex pulled up more calculations. They have 2,000 soldiers in council space. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened 12 hours after the Draxian attacks. Representatives from 43 species gathered in the Great Hall. Everyone knew why they were there. War had come to council space and they needed to decide what to do about it. Ambassador Talon of the Keltharan people spoke first. His crystalline body shimmered with barely controlled emotion. The Draxian Empire attacked our mining system without provocation or warning. They destroyed our orbital platforms. They killed 6 human soldiers who were there legally, hired by us to provide security. This is an act of war against both our people and humanity. General Kavrex stood to respond. He looked different from the confident commander who had returned Minho's sword 3 weeks ago. Now he seemed tired, older. The Empire acknowledges that our actions violated council law. We offer formal apologies to the Keltharan people and to humanity. We are prepared to pay reparations. The hall erupted in shocked murmurs. The Draxian Empire never apologized, never admitted fault. What had changed? Ambassador Urin of Humanity stood slowly. She was an older woman with gray hair and calm eyes. When she spoke, the entire hall fell silent. The Draxian Empire killed 26 human soldiers yesterday. They also killed countless civilians from 3 different species. They destroyed property worth billions of credits. And now they want to apologize and pay reparations? Urin's voice was soft but carried clearly. Tell me, General Kavrex, what changed your mind? Why the sudden desire for peace? Kavrex's jaw tightened. He knew what she wanted him to say. What everyone in the hall wanted to hear. Because the cost is too high. Your soldiers, they fight like nothing we have ever encountered. 26 of them killed over 700 of our troops. 27, Urin corrected. On average, each human soldier killed 27 of yours. The same number Sergeant Minho killed 3 weeks ago. Did you think he was unique, General? Yes, we assumed. You assumed wrong. Urin walked to the center of the hall. Sergeant Minho was not special. He was not uniquely skilled or unusually brave. He was a normal human soldier doing his job. And yesterday you learned that every single human in uniform is capable of the same thing he did. She pulled up holographic displays. Each one showed footage from the 3 battles. Human soldiers fighting with impossible courage, refusing to quit even when mortally wounded, taking enemies with them even as they died. This is what you attacked, General. Not an army, not a military force, but a species that has been fighting wars for thousands of years. We have fought each other, our environment, diseases, nature itself. We have survived ice ages and volcanic winters and plagues that killed half our population. We learned long ago that the only way to survive is to never ever give up. Urin stopped in front of Kavrex. You thought you could bully us. You thought overwhelming numbers would be enough. But here is what you did not understand. Humans do not fight to win. We fight to make you regret starting the fight in the first place. Your point is made, Ambassador, the council head said. The question now is, what do we do about it? That depends on the Draxian Empire. Urin turned to face the full council. We can accept their apology and their reparations. We can move toward peace, but we need guarantees that this will not happen again. What guarantees do you want? Kavrex asked. Complete withdrawal from all contested space, immediate cessation of support for raider groups, and most importantly, Urin's voice became hard as steel, an acknowledgement that human soldiers operating under legal contracts are protected by council law. Any future attack on human forces will be treated as an attack on the council itself. The hall erupted in heated discussion. Some species supported the human demands. Others thought they were too harsh. The Draxians had been punished enough, some argued. More than 700 deaths was sufficient. But then the Velthari representative stood. The Velthari were peaceful farmers, not warriors. They rarely spoke in council meetings. When they did, everyone listened. 8 human soldiers died defending our agricultural platforms, the Velthari said in their melodic voice. Before they arrived, we lost entire harvests to raiders. Our people starved. Children died. The raiders had no mercy. The Velthari representative walked to the center of the hall. When the human soldiers came, the raid stopped. The humans taught us how to defend ourselves. They helped us build security systems. They lived among us, ate with our families, played with our children. And when the Draxian attack came, they gave their lives to buy time for our people to evacuate. The representative turned to face Cavrex. 8 humans. They destroyed 4 of your warships and killed 230 of your soldiers. They saved 17,000 Velthari lives. Children who would have died in the attack are alive because 8 humans chose to stand and fight rather than flee. I am sorry for your losses, Cavrex said quietly. Sorry is not enough. The Velthari's voice remained gentle, but there was steel underneath. You need to understand what you attacked, General. Not just soldiers, not just warriors, but people who care about us, who protect us, who die for us even though we are not their species, not their people, not their responsibility. Another representative stood, then another. One by one, species that employed human security forces told similar stories. Humans who had saved them, protected them, died for them. The testimonials went on for over an hour. Finally, the council head called for order. We will vote on Ambassador Urin's demands. All in favor? 38 species voted yes, 4 abstained. Only the Draxians voted no. The motion passes, the council head declared. The Draxian Empire will comply with all terms or face expulsion from the council and complete economic isolation. Cavrex had no choice. He agreed to everything. After the vote, Ambassador Urin gathered her staff in a private room. Colonel Hyun was there, along with Captain Jiwoo and several other high-ranking human officers. We won, one of the staff members said. The Draxians are backing down. We won a battle, Urin corrected. The war is far from over. Cavrex agreed because he had no choice. But the moment he thinks he can win, he will try again. Then what do we do? Jiwoo asked. We prepare. Hyun pulled up a star map. Earth is sending reinforcements. 5,000 more soldiers. New weapons. Better ships. We spread out across council space and make it clear that attacking any member species means fighting us. We become the council's military? Someone asked. No, Urin said. We become its deterrent. Every species that hires human security gets the best protection in the galaxy. And anyone who wants to attack them has to ask themselves, is it worth the cost? Is it worth losing 30 soldiers for every human they kill? Jiwoo looked at Minho's sword, which she still carried at her side. We make them afraid. Exactly, Urin agreed. Fear is more powerful than any weapon. The Draxians fear us now. So will anyone else who watches what happened yesterday. 26 humans killed over 700 trained soldiers. That kind of kill ratio becomes legendary. It makes people think twice before starting fights with us. But we lost 26 soldiers, Jiwoo said quietly. 26 families who will never see their loved ones again. Yes. Urin's voice softened. And we honor them by making sure their deaths meant something. By using the fear they created to prevent future wars. By protecting the people they died defending. She pulled up images of the fallen soldiers. 26 faces. Men and women from all over Earth. Different backgrounds, different languages, different cultures. But all united by a single purpose. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. Captain Hana laughed in the face of 50 warships, Urin said. Sergeant Doyen kept fighting with one leg. Private Bora used her last grenade to save her squad. These were not superhumans. They were ordinary people doing extraordinary things because that is what we do. That is who we are. The galaxy needs to know their names, Hyun said. Their stories. Not just Minho, but all of them. Every human who has died defending others deserves to be remembered. Agreed. Urin made notes on her tablet. We will establish a memorial. A wall with every name, every story, so that future generations know what their people did out here among the stars. The meeting continued for another hour, discussing logistics and strategy, but eventually everyone left except Jiwoo and Hyun. Do you think it is over? Jiwoo asked. The fighting? For now. Hyun looked out the window at the stars beyond. But Cavrex is right about one thing. We cannot sustain these casualty ratios forever. Eventually the mathematics catches up with us. We are brave, but we are not infinite. Then what do? We adapt. We train the other species to defend themselves better. We share our tactics, our strategies, our mindset. and we hope that seeing what humans can do inspires others to stand up for themselves. Jiwoo touched Minho's sword again. He would have liked that. He always said we should not have to do all the fighting, that everyone deserves to defend their own home. He was wise beyond his years. Yun placed a hand on her shoulder. Come, we have a memorial service to plan. 26 families are waiting to hear about how their sons and daughters, mothers and fathers died heroes. As they walked out of the room, Jiwoo thought about all the human soldiers spread across council space. 2,000 now, soon to be 7,000. 6 months had passed since the Draxian attacks. The Galactic Council had built a memorial station in neutral space. It orbited a beautiful blue star, visible from 16 different systems. The station was simple and elegant, and at its heart was a wall. The memorial wall stretched for 200 meters, made of black stone from Earth, polished until it reflected like a mirror. Carved into that stone were names. Hundreds of names. Every human soldier who had died protecting other species in council space. At the top of the wall, in letters larger than the rest, was one name, Sergeant Minho. The dedication ceremony drew representatives from every council species. Thousands of people gathered to pay respects. But the humans were not there for show. They were there to remember. Ambassador Yurin stood at the podium looking out at the crowd. Beside the stage, the families of the fallen sat in places of honor. Mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, children who would grow up without their parents. We gather today, Yurin began, not to celebrate war, but to honor those who gave everything to prevent it. The names on this wall belong to people who believed that protecting others was worth their lives. They came from every corner of Earth, from cities and villages, mountains and beaches, deserts and forests. They spoke different languages and practiced different faiths. But they shared one belief, that doing the right thing matters even when it is hard, especially when it is hard. She gestured to the wall behind her. Sergeant Minho's name stands at the top, but he would tell you he was not special. He would say he was just doing his job. And in a way, he was right. Because every name on this wall belongs to someone who was just doing their job, protecting people who needed protection, standing firm when others needed someone to stand, fighting when someone had to fight. Yurin paused, gathering herself. 6 months ago, the Draxian Empire attacked 3 systems defended by human soldiers. 26 of our people died that day. But they did not die alone. They took over 700 enemies with them. Not because we train our soldiers to be killers, but because we train them to never quit, to never abandon their post, to never let the people they are protecting down. Captain Jiwoo sat in the front row, her dress uniform crisp and perfect. Minho's sword rested across her lap. She had carried it every day for 6 months. It had become part of her, a reminder of her friend, a promise to never forget. When Yurin finished speaking, the ceremony moved to the individual tributes. One by one, friends and family members came forward to talk about the fallen. Each story was unique. Each person was different. There was Captain Hana, who had laughed at 50 warships and fought until her last breath. Her daughter, only 7 years old, came to the podium with her mother's help and said in a small voice, "My mom was brave. She said being brave means doing what is right even when you are scared. I want to be brave like her." There was Sergeant Doyen, who had kept fighting after losing his leg. His brother spoke about how Doyen had always been the strong one in their family, how he had joined the military to protect people who could not protect themselves, how he had written letters home every week, telling stories about the aliens he met and the places he saw. There was Private Bora, who had used her last grenade to save her squad. Her grandfather, a veteran of Earth's last great war, stood at the podium with tears running down his face. Bora was like her grandmother, he said, fierce and kind in equal measure. She believed the galaxy needed good people willing to stand up to bullies. She proved that belief with her life. The tributes went on for hours. Each name on the wall got a story. Each person became more than just a statistic. They became real again, if only for a moment. When it was time to speak about Minho, Jiwoo stood and walked to the podium. She placed his sword on the stand in front of her. For a long moment, she just looked at it, memories flooding through her mind. "Sergeant Minho was my friend," she began. Her voice was steady, but everyone could hear the emotion underneath. "We met at the academy. He was the best in our class at hand-to-hand combat. Not because he was the strongest or the fastest, but because he never gave up. You could knock him down 10 times and he would get up 11. She smiled at the memory. He used to joke about bringing his family's sword to space. We all thought he was crazy. Who brings an ancient blade to fight enemies with plasma weapons? But Minho said the sword connected him to his ancestors, to all the warriors in his family who had carried it before him. He said it reminded him that courage is not about having the best weapons. It is about having the best reasons to fight. Jiwoo's hands gripped the podium. 3 weeks before he died, we were on patrol together. We stopped at a Keltheran mining station to check on security. The workers there were terrified. Raiders had been attacking them for months. The council could not help. No one could help. They were alone. Minho volunteered to stay. He said someone had to protect them. I argued with him. I told him it was too dangerous, that one soldier could not defend an entire station. He just smiled at me and said, maybe one soldier is not enough, but one soldier is better than none. And sometimes one is all it takes. Tears rolled down Jiwoo's cheeks now, but her voice remained strong. He was right. One soldier was all it took. Not to defeat the enemy, but to show them that someone cared. That the Keltheran were not alone. That humanity keeps its promises. She picked up the sword and held it high. This blade killed 27 enemies before Minho fell. But it did something more important than that. It showed the galaxy who we are, what we stand for, what we are willing to do to protect others. Minho sang while he fought, an old Korean folk song his grandmother taught him. A song about longing and sorrow, about missing home. And I think that is perfect, because even while dying far from Earth, far from his family, Minho was home. He was doing exactly what he had trained to do, what he had dreamed of doing, protecting people who needed protection. Jiwoo lowered the sword. We cannot bring him back. We cannot undo his death, but we can honor him by becoming like him, by standing firm when others need us to stand, by fighting when someone has to fight, by never ever abandoning those who trust us to protect them. She turned to face the wall where Minho's name shone in the light. Rest well, my friend. Your watch is over. We will take it from here. The ceremony continued with a moment of silence. 7,000 human soldiers stood at attention throughout council space, coordinated across dozens of systems. For 2 full minutes, every human in uniform stopped what they were doing and stood in honor of the fallen. It was a small gesture, but to the families present, it meant everything. After the official ceremony ended, people filed past the memorial wall. Each one touched the names of those they had known. Each one left offerings, flowers from Earth, crystals from Kelthar, woven grass from Velthar. The wall became a garden of remembrance. Jiwoo stood before Minho's name for a long time. Finally, she reached out and touched the carved letters. I carry your sword, she whispered. I sing your song. And I tell your story. That is all I can do. But I promise, Minho. I promise I will do it for the rest of my life. Colonel Hyun found her there an hour later. It is time, he said gently. The transports are waiting. Jiwoo nodded. She took one last look at the wall, at all those names, all those stories. Then she followed Hyun back to the landing bay. The 7,000 human soldiers were deploying to their new assignments, spread across 40 systems, each one protecting different species, each one standing ready to do what Minho had done if necessary. But something had changed in the 6 months since the Draxian attacks. Other species were learning. The Keltheran had started training their own security forces. The Velthari were building defenses. The Zerani had formed a militia. They had watched the humans fight. They had seen what courage looked like, and they wanted to be capable of that same courage. Humans were still the most feared soldiers in the galaxy, but now they were also the most respected teachers. Other species asked them for training, for advice, for lessons in how to defend themselves. Minho would have loved this, Jiwoo said as their transport lifted off. Through the window, she could see the memorial wall growing smaller below them. He always said we should teach others to fight their own battles. He was wise, Hyun agreed. And his wisdom lives on in every soldier we train, every species we help, every person who learns that they do not have to be victims. The transport jumped to faster than light speed, and the memorial station vanished from view. But the wall remained, a permanent reminder of what humans had sacrificed for the galaxy. In the months and years that followed, more names would be added to that wall. Human soldiers would continue to die protecting others. But they would die less often, because the species they protected were learning to protect themselves. The Draxian Empire never attacked human forces again. General Kavrex retired from military service and became a teacher, training young Draxian officers in the lessons he had learned from Minho. He made every student watch the video of Minho's last stand. Not to glorify violence, but to understand what true courage looked like. The 3 Draxian soldiers who had survived Minho's attack eventually recovered enough to leave the hospital. They never returned to combat duty, but they found a different purpose.